Hi, yeah, thank you all so much for coming today, and we're super excited to be talking to all of you. My name is Sara El-Gebali. I'm the co-founder of FAIRPoints together with Chris Erdmann and Donnie Winston, who's not with us today. But I'm gonna do a brief introduction of who we are, and I'll delve a little bit deeper into what we're doing specifically for training and open and fair training. So, what is FAIRPoints? FAIRPoints is an event series, and the main aim is to highlight what are the pragmatic approaches and measures and solutions that are developed by the community towards the implementation of FAIR. So, how do you make FAIR a reality? And we learn from each other across disciplinary fashion. And to that end, we do have different types of events that we run. We have community discussions where we meet up, discuss, and share the experience and knowledge. And as I mentioned, we have the cross-disciplinary approach. So we have people from not just life science, but from a lot of other disciplines and fields, and we learn from each other on what FAIR means to us. And we also identify some solutions, and we essentially provide a platform to allow for this community discussion to take place and identify some solutions and produce some output to help share the knowledge and those resources and disseminate it further. So to that end, when I say producing output, we talk about designing machine actionable training and for beginners that I'm going to talk about a bit later. So it's essentially a working groups in many ways, but the ideas and things are inspired by the people in the community. And then we have another type of events, which is the keynote event. And these are meant to mainly raise awareness, tap into the expertise that's available by inviting keynote speakers and focused on highlighting specific practical solutions and fair implementation. And as I mentioned, it comes from diverse fields. And then we capture those conversation summaries in a bite-sized format, or points as we call them, and we focus on making them as reusable as possible. So the content that captures the essence of those talks are in a machine readable format. And that way we are producing fair summaries from the event. And these events are mainly like this. We have the speaker, we have the Q&As, and we have a very short mini sprint to capture the summaries together. So we're aligned and make sure that the take-home message from the whole session is captured properly. We also do have some other projects. So besides the events, we have other projects. So together with the Fair Data podcast, and I would heartily encourage you to listen to that. We are creating community gathering place, so a hub where people and individuals from across the globe, from across the diverse fields, can come share information, experiences, ask for help, basically have this interactions around the topics that are related to their interests, and that within the fair and open research. And where was I? Yeah, so sorry, I got distracted by that. Yeah, so we're in the process of creating this place at this forum, and we want to have community input to understand, to really design it with the community in mind, so to ensure that it's fit for purpose. We want to make it something like a sociable setting. People can come together, can share interests, have offer them a chance to present their work, you know, and have more impact outside of traditional ways of having impact. We're thinking like publication. So having that visibility and impact and on fair and open related topics. Would love to hear from you on what you think this forum should look like. So there's a survey. I've pasted all the links in the document that Jason shared and the Google Doc. So please feel free to also explore it there. And another thing that we do, we also have is trying to ask people to describe some of the decisions or the challenges that they faced when implementing FAIR. And we capture these in mini voice or audio notes, sorry. And this is together with the Machine-Centric Science podcast. And we'd love to hear from you. We have different questions every now and then, and we advertise them. And we'd love to hear from people how did they come about making a decision using a specific tool or solution compared to the other, or some challenges that they face. So the responses are collected, and if you want, you can also be further you can elaborate more on that by being a guest on the program. So yeah, please have a look and let us know. I don't remember which question we had this month, but have a look yourself. So I've already mentioned a couple of different projects that are ongoing, but one of the outputs and one of the big call that came from the community is, how do we talk about open and fair with people who've never heard about it, people who are in undergraduate, high school age. So I know high school is different in every country, so we're talking about ages 15 to 16, and no, sorry, 15 to 19, and then people who are in undergraduate studies in the universities, and generally to the public or people who are interested in science and what's happening with their data, and what does openly sharing their data actually means, and how does that pose a risk or not. So what happens there? And that's where we kind of heard our community members. We took on the suggestion and we started to think about, well, what kind of ways do we reach out and teach people open and fair research practices, right? So we teamed up with the Edinburgh reproducibility community, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. And we thought to combine our forces together to really create training material that, in essence, should motivate the students to do research, good sound research, and try to understand what transparency means, reproducibility, and how to go about it. And also to instill those values early on, because these are the academics and the researchers of the future. So you want to reach them very early on to talk about these kind of things, to promote a cultural change. And we believe that open and fair work hand in hand, and they provide answers, they change perspectives. So at the end, the ultimate goal is to really do better science, while respecting rights of people and communities and so on. And this is the main message that we want to get across. But how do we go about this? So we thought as a starting point, there are a couple of things that we could do, and we have set up the workshop at the end of this month to work with the community to produce this two main things. So the two deliverables. There is recently Google, as of recent in August this year, they have released a new type of structured data to create educational flashcards. So if you're interested in that, have a look, and you can try it yourself. If you Google this statement here, you'll get educational flashcards that say, you have a question, you have an answer, and people vote on the answers and so on. And we thought that is a very nice way to start to talk for anyone who would search, what does open science mean? What does FAIR principles stand for? What do I need to know, essentially? So capturing those questions and the answers from the experts in the community and people and like yourselves who develop those questions and answers, we can turn them into educational flashcards that would be available in Google, and that way we reach pretty much everyone who's interested at least. And then for targeting students specifically as well as citizens who are interested, we're looking into developing slides in script that can help the trainers deliver that message in a way. So this is not a barrier of having the trainers creating slides from scratch for essentially doing the same thing, saying the same thing. So we want to ensure that this is low barrier as possible to promote teachers and professionals to deliver this content, to be able to teach it and in a nice and fun way, and make sure that we have a concise message that comes across. So this is what another deliverable, but we're also open to creating a lot more based on the community engagement input, and would love to hear from you. What do you think we should create next, right? But first, join us into creating these two deliverables, and we would love to have you on board. So if you want, you can register for this event on the 30th. Well, where we will be working on to initially delivering the scripts, the slides, and the Google Q&As. Everything we do in FAIRPoints, we try to make it as fair as possible. And when I say fair, findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. And the first thing of findability and interoperability is to integrate structured data as much as possible. So making things, our outcomes and deliverables, machine actionable. And we have, as I mentioned earlier, our output from the events is captured in a machine actionable schema, and you can have a look at how it is. I'm not going to go into too much details into that today. And basically, this is the kind of work that we do, and would love to have more people. So we are looking to expand. We're taking a lot more suggestions that we can, realistically deliver in as soon as possible. So we'd love to have people to be part of this community, and also having your input and your voice makes a difference. And we're looking to expand, but we know that also this is volunteering time and effort. It's not a trivial matter. It's a lot. So that's why we have the community, the Champions program is set on 6 month rotations. But yeah, so have a look on that. And if you're interested, you can learn of what we expect in this type of program, what kind of activities we expect, and what kind of benefits you can get out of it. So as I mentioned, we try to do this with the community as much as possible. We team up with people and organizations, and that's where we teamed up with OLS to identify champions who would want to undergo the OLS program. And I'm going to leave it to you here so she can tell you more about it.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Can I just get you to pop onto the next slide? Thank you. Okay, hey everyone. So very excited and delighted to be working with FAIRPoints on this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to describe a little bit the program that we run. I know that some of you know it, but I'm grateful to those of you who aren't and who can learn a little bit about what we do. But I'll describe the program, and then I'll describe how we are collaborating with FAIRPoints to achieve some of Sarah's goals that we discussed earlier. So Open Life Science was born. I worked in the Department of Genetics at Cambridge for about 5 years on an open source biological data warehouse. And one thing that I learned over that time is that people are often interested in doing open science and doing open source, and later that became FAIR as well, that people were interested in, but may not necessarily be comfortable with things like how to disseminate it, because unfortunately build it and they will come is not terribly true. and that actually if you want to have a community and you want a lot of people who are working with you, you're going to have to put some effort into it, and typically the more effort you put in, the more you get out. But also there are ways to work that work well, and there are ways to work that work less well when you're trying to collaborate. So with that in mind, we decided to scratch our own itch, and myself and several others co-formed an organization, which you can guess from the name, Open Life Science, that we had a life science background, but actually we really aren't exclusive to life science anymore at all. So these days you might find an anthropologist or an archaeologist or all sorts of different interesting domains actually participating in this. And the way we run this, we're about to, in fact, this is the first week of our 6th cohort, is a 16-week, that's about 4-month long program. And the idea is that people are supposed to dedicate a couple of hours a week, a couple of hours a week. 1 week they spend about half an hour chatting with a mentor that they're working with, and the other week they spend some time talking with a whole cohort of people that's going through this at the same time. And when they're talking with that cohort, we do a lot of different expert speakers who actually introduce things around whether it's open access, it might be open source, it might be FAIR, or many other things. So for example, we've been lucky enough to have Jason talking at some of our careers call. By the end of that call, you are always relaxed and you know that you're going to do good just having listened to Jason. Sara has kindly presented on FAIR in the past and on data management. But we also talk about collaboration skills, and people end up with some useful technical skills like making a basic website on GitHub, but also learning how to collaborate and make that something that they can take away with it, even if they don't feel confident about the community skills that we try and teach. Sara, can I have the next slide, please? Thank you. Okay, that's too small to read. I'm sorry. If you want to get a bigger version of that, you can go to openlifesci.org to see what's going on. But what's on that slide is an overview of our program. So you can see every other week there's the little blue meetings. That's the mentor-mentee meeting. And then in the weeks in between, we have the green meetings at the top. These are our cohort calls where we have the experts speakers, and where we also tend to have a good number of breakout rooms so that people can discuss and think about and ruminate on when open science might need to be responsible and say we don't share this, or when you might need to be thoughtful, because there's so many different ways to implement open science depending on the domain you're in and the people you're working with and the topics that you're working on. And then you can also see some fancy little extra pink calls at the bottom. You can see we have that GitHub tutorial. Sara, you're doing a fantastic guide here. Thank you so much. That open leadership, academia, industry, and beyond is a call where we ask people to actually come along and share their experiences and the different career paths that there might be. We always have one PI from academia, but then we also try and have a variety of different careers, because we believe really strongly that open science is something that should be performed anywhere, and we do not believe that academia is the only place that a scientist can succeed. And then we also talk about self-care and social. We want to make sure that people, especially people who've been thinking about the open science that all too often is extra, right? It's not something that your PI necessarily wants you to spend time on, and they're probably shattered after, but this is week 13 when they've been doing all this extra stuff. So we hang out, we'll do a pub quiz, and we'll talk about looking after yourself and others as well within the system that permits it. Can't take it all on yourself. There's systemic issues there as well. That's kind of an overview about some of the things that we talk about and the things that we teach over this very long program. And Sara, can I have the final slide? And oh, look at those beautiful faces. We have over 400 people from all the continents except Antarctica. If you know someone in Antarctica, please tell them to apply. This is where researchers are. We know that we can get that 7th continent one day. But I just want to say that whilst the organizers sometimes get the shiny faces and the, hey, look what you're doing, honestly, without all of these people and more, this would not be happening, because a lot of our strength is in the network and people being able to learn from each other, whether it's someone mentoring from Bolivia who is actually has a mentee in Australia, whatever it might be. There are so many different combinations and so many rich networks to tap into if this is something that is of interest to you. So mostly just thank you to all of the amazing humans in our network. We couldn't be working without them. But now I will just mention briefly like why I'm presenting as part of Sara's talk, which is that all of that beautiful talk about what's the word I'm looking for here, making FAIR approachable and making it so that a high school student or an undergraduate thinks, yeah, this is stuff that I could do. So that there's a lot of curriculum that Sara would like to produce. And since people, when they're in OLS, they get mentored to work on an open science project, we thought it might be a nice framework to actually allow people to work through it as a project in a structured way over 4 months. And in OLS, OLS standing for Open Life Science, I don't know if I've actually expanded that at any point, but in OLS, we always find that training sticks so much better when people are applying it. And I'm pretty sure this is something that resonates with the reason that Jason runs this community as well. And I know certainly I'm a qualified first aider. I've taken the first aid at work course 4 times because you have to take it in the UK every 3 years to keep qualified. I'm actually not sure if I'm qualified anymore, I'll be honest. But my point was going to be that if I take that course and then no one is ill near me for several months or several years, that's why I have to requalify. I don't apply the skills and I don't remember. So we figure that if we actually have this project where people are working on the FAIRPoints projects, that they're then applying open science skills to it, it'll help it really stick and really embed in. I think I've spoken enough now. Sara, would you like to take the mic back?
Thank you so much. So it's just I'm gonna talk about it, the reproducibility group on behalf of Emma Wilson, who couldn't be with us today. But briefly, so reproducibility is a worldwide grassroots initiative, and it supports the researchers to establish things like journal clubs to discuss topics specifically pertaining to open research and reproducibility. And the group is run by volunteers at the University of Edinburgh in the UK. And the sessions are run during the term time. So, and when I say the sessions, it's really a mix of seminars and journal club style talks. So, and the speakers could come from anywhere, both in and outside of Edinburgh University, and represent different backgrounds in career stages. So just to showcase some of their previous sessions included topics such as easing into open science, effect sizes and power calculations, Edinburgh carpentries, and selfish reasons to work reproducibly. They sound absolutely amazing, and I would love to also attend those. But if you cannot attend these sessions, they're recorded, and if you want to have a look, going to YouTube and you can search for Edinburgh reproducibility, and they're also on Twitter, so give them a follow. And if you want any updates on their upcoming sessions or want to sign up to their mailing list and know what they're up to, you can what is it called? Screen the QR code. Yeah, so you can follow the QR code link. So finally, back to FAIRPoints. If you're interested in what we do as well, you want to join the conversation, our community discussions, or just attend our event series and keep up to date with our news, have a look at our website, sign up to our mailing list, and give us a follow on Twitter, and come talk to us and our community on Slack. And last but not least, I want to thank all of the people in FAIRPoints, but also all of the institutes and organizations supporting us. That includes the SciLifeLab, where I'm employed, GoFair US, and the San Diego Supercomputing Center, and absolutely Open Life Science and Edinburgh Reproducibility. So that's it for me. Thank you very much. Jason, how do you want to do the discussions? Because we do have HackMD to navigate the discussions in structural fashion, but it's up to you how you want to